Open up a tab, grab a seat, and pour a pint. It's time for the Beer Guys Radio Show.
You want free beer? Go to the brewery.
Dedicated to the art, science, and enjoyment of craft beer.
Yeah, what's wrong with the beer we got?
Now, here are your hosts, Tim Dennis and Aaron Williams.
And welcome to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We are radio for the local craft beer movement, broadcasting from our flagship studios at AM 920 The Answer in Buckhead, Atlanta. And I'm Aaron Williams.
And I'm Tim Dennis, and Merry Christmas to you all out there. We hope you're enjoying your time with your family and friends, and definitely some great craft beer.
I hope so. We're spending some time with our friends and family this weekend as well. So on this episode, we're going to bring you some of the interviews that we enjoyed over the past year.
Just a quick note, we won't have a Truck and Tap Beer of the Week this week, or headlines brought to you by Your Pie Perimeter, and some of the other things we usually do on the show.
That's right, Tim. So let's get right into it. So earlier this year, we talked to one of the South's newest breweries. They're already making a pretty big name for themselves, but they were really tired. They worked really hard during their opening. So let's listen into a tired Scofflaw. We are here in the studio with Atlanta's newest brewery, which is Scofflaw. Owner Matt Shira and Brewmad, one of the sales guys. I was going to give you a promotion there for a second, JP. Sorry. JP Watts joins us in the studio today. I don't know. That's probably true.
Yes. Those guys work way too hard for me.
There you go. You're just the beautiful face of Scofflaw, which is always key. You brought some beers today. What have we got to share here this segment?
Well, we brought 4 beers. I think you guys probably had some of them, but I don't know how you want to go through it. Just go through them, each beer.
Sure. You know what? What are we opening right now, Matt? What are we going to start with?
Well, we'll start with this. It's probably the right one to start with. It's a Sneaky Wheat. I call it that. This beer is kind of close to my heart. JP and I developed this beer out on the West Coast because we were looking for a beer to compete with the wheats that everyone was selling a lot of at the time, and the Sea Dogs and those beers. The adjustment we made is we reduced the Belgian flavors in the beer, made it a true American wheat, used American yeast, and we goosed up the ABV on this beer to about 8.5.
Yeah, there's definitely some heat on this. When I tried it at your brewery here earlier, that's what got me first. You know, when you think wheat, you think of something like maybe a wit more than anything else, but this one.
You think banana, clove, softer flavors than that, but this one's got some legs to this one, yeah.
Yeah, it's we've got another one I haven't put out yet because I wanted to see how this one was received, but it's called Sneakier Wheat, and it's 12%.
Wow.
American wheat.
Yeah.
Not so sneaky there,
yeah,
man.
Well,
you're going 12%.
Sneakier.
Definitely. Yes. Now you guys, again, a newest brewery here in Atlanta open up. Tell us about your backstory, Matt. How did you get into this crazy thing?
Well, that's not long or difficult story. JP and I were selling beer on the West Coast in some retail establishments that my family owned. We did that for a few years, and there's always that battle from a retailer, especially on the West Coast, trying to get the right beers and put the right product in there and make sure you have what you want. And I just kind of got tired of having to beg for beer, and I figured, you know what, I'm also tired of selling other people's beer, so I'm going to make my own damn beer. And I ran across a guy, Travis Herman, who's not here because he's doing something ridiculous.
Actually brewing. And
more on that soon. We'll tell the story on that one.
So JP and I, JP tracked him down. He had just left Russian River, and we got together. He had a couple kids. He was looking for his next project. They had put together something in the West Coast in Arizona called Arizona Wilderness with some friends of his, which is a brewery out in Gilbert, Arizona.
Just recently did a collaboration with the Creature Conference.
With a lot of people, actually. They did that project out there.
Those are some friends of ours, Jonathan and the other guys, Patrick, and JP's real close with those guys, too. He was looking for somewhere to go, and I do honestly think his wife was just sick and tired of the heat. So it was an easy sell for me, and I put him in my basement at my mother-in-law's house, not permanently, but for long hours. And we just sat there, and I picked his brain for 2 years to try to figure out how to make this thing a reality. And we spent those 2 years planning, brewing on a 1-barrel system in the basement. We actually had jacketed fermenters in the basement and a full lab, a reasonable lab, centrifuge, and some other key items down there in the lab so that we could keep some controls on these things and move them over to the big system. So here we are now, a couple years later. Our dream, our nightmare has become a reality.
I'm jealous of your basement.
So,
I mean,
Well,
just hearing that,
the
it's
coolest
like
mother-in-law in the world. To have,
right?
get all of her stuff down there.
well,
Exactly.
she said, am I going to get in trouble for this? And we said, I'm probably not, but you've never been in trouble.
no,
They're just
no.
going to give you a slap on the
Yeah.
wrist, and if you do get in serious trouble, I mean, you've had a pretty good run.
Yeah.
That's true. Exactly. So that's key.
That's right, Ruben. That's like in Breaking Bad when he went into the laundry and went subterranean to do his cooking. You guys had that kind of setup, huh?
Well, she was she likes to be involved, and we love having her involved. And she's very happy. We've got this basement IPA. She knows where it came from and was always involved. And that's our next beer. Is that our next beer?
That's the next one.
We moving on to the
Next one
basement.
coming. Okay.
Sure.
Well,
All right. Well, we'll
you
move
guys
over
are
to
good
this
and
one.
Fast and Furious for us. That's fine.
No,
I'll
we
finish
can
my
slow
sneaky
down.
week.
That's
Okay,
how we
yeah.
do it. Yes.
It's all good. It's all good.
Anybody can questions about I can go as long or as little on the background. I mean,
what had you make because you spent many years in the corporate world.
Yeah.
Corporate New York City, that type of stuff. How'd you end up selling beer?
Well, I did corporate turnaround work where I'd go into distressed companies and take them over, sometimes take them out, get them going in the right direction. My wife and I met in New York City. We were in the Chrysler Building. In fact, we met, fell in love, had kids. I went to graduate school at Emory. When I came here, our family was here, and we never left. So that's how we got here. And she's from Atlanta. She went to Druid Hills High School. And whenever we had a child, at that point in time, I decided it was no more road trips for me because I was on 150 planes a year at the time, and decided I want to try to find something for us to do, for me to do locally. She's still working, but here I am, with much less money and much happier.
Now I know you guys were from all over the place before you came here. So was it the family that brought you here? Because Georgia's not the most friendly place to start a brewery.
Well, we didn't really look at it like that. I mean, I understand the dynamic, and I understand the big picture. I've been around all the states. We sold beer in the West Coast when we started to do that. When we started to get involved in beer on the East Coast, in the Southeast, we just she went to school here. Her brother is a doctor here in Emory. My sister-in-law is a doctor at Emory. My father-in-law is a professor at Emory. I mean, we had a lot of heritage here and wanted to make beer where we wanted to be at home. So that's what we did.
Excellent. We're here talking with Matt Shira, the owner of Scofflaw Brewing, and JP Watts, with the sales guru, the face of Scofflaw. And what a beautiful face it is. Yeah. Here in the studio with us in the Beer Guys Radio Show.
The face must be working, man. You're selling a lot of beer out there, so a lot of people excited to get your beer. So
they make my job easy.
There you go, man. Yeah, that's I've been out to a few of the launch events. We were talking about the sneaky wheat and that, and just well received from everyone. On the forums, I'm on Reddit ATL Beer. We've mentioned that here before, and people are getting excited to find you guys out there. They're getting excited to see your beer and find it, asking people where they can find it, get the growler fills and that. So. It's exciting to see. Now, you just opened another one here for us, passed around. What are we getting into now?
This one is the Basement IPA.
Now, the Basement is the one that's almost the quote-unquote Northeast IPA that I know a lot of people have been really
like this beer.
Over that one, yeah.
The way that we developed this beer is I was drinking a lot of beer at the time that were in that class, in that genre. So I sat down, Travis and I sat down, and we'd always been West Coast beer drinking guys. So we're more in tune with the palate of the West Coast, which I think is quite different. And we sat down and we were drinking a lot of beers. Like we were drinking a lot of Lawson's. We were drinking a lot of who else, like Treehouse, guys like
Trillium
that.
And
even the Pseudo Sue and those guys. And I sat down with this and the West Coast beers and said, hey, what can we do to make this what we want it to be? I want this to be a beer that we want to grab when we go into the refrigerator. And that was our first shot. What you guys are tasting is basically a first shot. We got a beer that's a fruited version of that we start out with, which we actually think is a real good beer it's called Sucker Punch. And that beer hopefully be out soon as soon as we get the fruit to do it with.
Well, thanks to Scofflaw for the interview. We had a great time when we talked to them. They're growing really fast, Aaron. Very popular out there. I'm sure you're seeing their cans on the shelf and everything. We're hoping for more great things from them. So we'll be back right after this with more interviews from the past year. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
This is Brian Roth with the Southern Brewing Company. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
The Beer Guys are back right after this.
Morgan and Lisa with Your Pie Perimeter here. We'd like to invite you to our store for a beer.
Is there anything better than pizza?
Yep, brick oven pizza that's made fresh and paired with a cold craft beer.
That's what you get at Your Pie Perimeter, located in the Perimeter Place Shopping Center by Perimeter Mall.
It's the perfect place to relax on the patio with a pint after work or bring the family in.
Follow Your Pie Perimeter on Facebook for all our beer events and specials, including beer tastings that you won't find anywhere else.
That's Your Pie Perimeter, located in Perimeter Place Shopping Center next to Chipotle. Tell them that the Beer Guy sent you.
Hey, this is Aaron. I want to thank you so much for listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We've got some really awesome things that are coming soon that will help us engage with you some more. We're not going to lie to you, though. It takes time, effort, and money to produce this show every week. So if you'd like to be part of the Beer Guys family, we would love your help. Head to patreon.com/beerguys to become a sponsor. We're not going to beg. Okay, maybe just a little bit. But hey, we've got some great swag for those who become a sponsor, and you'll be among the first to know about the great things that are coming to the Beer Guys universe. Again, that's patreon.com, patreon.com/beerguys, or you can go to beerguysradio.com and click the sponsor link. We thank you for your support, and cheers.
It's Aaron and Tim, the Beer Guys. If you're like us, no lunch or dinner is complete without a pint or two of craft beer.
Which is why Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock is always on our list. Tim, why do they call it Truck and Tap?
Well, the tap part is easy. They have 12 of them. Bottles, too. Not sure what to drink? All of their beer servers are Cicerone certified. And if you got someone who isn't a beer fan, not to worry. Truck and Tap carries wine, mixed drinks, and even handcrafted sodas.
As for the truck part, well, that's when it gets interesting. Truck and Tap features your favorite Atlanta area food trucks daily. That way, you're getting a different menu every day.
Check it out. Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock. Truckandtap.com. Let them know that the Beer Guys sent you.
There is something in the air in Kennesaw. I'm sure you've noticed it. It is the sweet, sweet smell of barbecue permeating from The Nest, a new barbecue and beer restaurant in K-Town. The Nest is your new restaurant if you really love barbecue. Ribs, brisket, chicken, oh my. Did we mention the bar? The Nest of Kennesaw offers 49 taps of craft beer and an amazing bottle list as well. It's quite simple. If you really like barbecue and craft beer, you have to visit The Nest, barbecue and beer in Kennesaw, near historic downtown on Cherokee.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
It's the Beer Guys Radio Show. We're at beerguysradio.com, and this is our special Christmas show.
That's right. Merry Christmas, Tim.
Merry Christmas, Aaron.
All right. Yeah. We're going to break format just a little bit. We're going to bring you some of the interviews that we enjoyed over the past year, including this one from Birmingham, Alabama's Trim Tab Brewing. Harris Stewart from Trim Tab. He is the CEO and founder of Trim Tab Brewing. Trim Tab Brewing. Say that 3 times fast. How you doing, Harris?
Doing awesome, guys. How you doing?
Excellent.
Good. Harris, thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate it. We just cracked open some of your IPA here that we actually picked up at the brewery a little while ago. We came over there for the Magic City Brew Fest, and I got some goodies there from the brewery. So we're enjoying them now. So, yeah, again, thanks for joining us. Talk some about Trim Tab here. We'll start off the name Trim Tab. So I know what a Trim Tab is, but what was your inspiration for naming your brewery that?
Awesome. Great way to start. So a trim tab literally is the small rudder on the larger rudder of a ship. So people that are familiar with boating or with flight might know what the actual mechanical piece is. I became aware of a concept when I was living up in Asheville, North Carolina. I lived up there for about 8 years, and there's a concept that the trim tab has an amazing potential. So the smallest movement on the trim tab, no matter what it's located on, causes these disproportionately large impacts on what it does. So like an ocean liner, for example, the smallest movement on the trim tab, that's what pulls the rudder, that's what steers the ship. The same thing happens on airplanes. It's a small source of big change. So when I was founding the business, I really, really got excited about the idea of using the platform of craft beer to tell a message that was larger than beer, a way to help interact with the communities that we serve and to at base, the whole concept of a trim tab is that we all have the ability to make our communities, anything that we have in our world, the small changes that we can affect on the world are responsible for the big changes we want to see. So craft beer is our way to really spread that idea and to have a lot of fun while we do it.
Sounds like a plan to me. Harris Stewart from Trim Tab over in Birmingham joins us on the studio lines right now. Now, your logo is really cool. I got to say, it's one of the cooler things that I've seen recently. But I got to ask you, there's a 5 and a 33 on it. What does that mean?
Sure. So the 5 and the 33, we call that the two commitments of our company, and that the 05 relates to the Reinheitsgebot, the old school German beer purity law that said that beer is only beer unless it has a very few things in it: hops, malt, yeast, and water. They originally was just 3 because they didn't know yeast was involved with it, but 4 was the magic number. We say that you really can't make beer without a human being involved with it. So one of the commitments of our company is that we're really, really devoted to developing community groups, people that are movers and shakers in the community. So be it in Birmingham where we're located or in the new places that we're expanding out to, it's a really, really big deal to us to collaborate, reach out to the people that are making their communities a better place to live in. 33 is a number that represents our commitment to making very balanced craft beer. 33 in numerology is the number of balance. It's a number of kind of like high order. It's kind of a fun way for us to kind of tip our hat to the fact that we, despite the fact that we have a very diverse portfolio of beer, we want them all to be bound by a very common thread of being very balanced, well tied together beers. So
that's a pretty intricate logo and thought behind that.
You're getting way high level on us, Harris.
Yeah,
man, got a lot of thought behind this thing. There's when we started out, there were over about like 3,500 breweries in the United States, and it begs the question, why one more? And we really wanted, when we started it from the ground up, before we had raised up a single dollar, before we had raised up any money or brewed a single beer for that matter, we really wanted to make sure that we were being deliberate on what we were doing, and hope that's reflected in our brand work. So.
Now, Harris, you've actually graduated from the U of Alabama. We don't hold that against you here in Georgia, but that's okay. But you actually have a law background. Tell us about the journey before going to law school and then eventually going into brewing.
Sure. Yeah. So lived up in Asheville, North Carolina for, like I said, about 8 years. Worked up there for about 4 years after graduating. Worked with a couple different startup companies, and for a while worked for the Buckminster Fuller Institute, and he's the genius that pioneered the trim tab concept, and that's kind of where I got hip to that. That once the last company I was working for got acquired, I got the bright idea to go to law school and moved down to Alabama. That's where I decided to go to, and during the first year, people were having study groups at my house, and I was pouring beers for everybody. I was, probably at that point brewing like 3 times a week. And, it began to like raise some eyebrows. People that were in my class, like, what are you doing, man? We're all studying for like 10 hours a day, and you're, brewing for 10 hours a day. And it just kind of seemed to progress over the years. I moved up to Birmingham with my wife to have a clerkship during my first summer. And during that summer, again, I was, talking about beer more than I was talking about contract law or torts. We also just fell in love with the city of Birmingham, and really we had been talking for that point for about 7 years about wanting to start something up, but it wasn't until we really got situated into the place that we are now that we really felt the calling to make it possible. So really it was law school was the lightning rod for me to discover my life's passion and calling.
I think that kind of is the way it is with beer sometimes. Some people are just drawn to it, and no matter what you do to try and take a different path, you can kind of tell that it's drawing you to follow it a little bit more. Like you said, with the brewing 3 times a week, I'm jealous of that. I'd love to find time to brew 3 times a week. So I think I've got 2 batches in so far this year of homebrew. Awesome. But that's it's fun to follow that. So it's good that you went to law school to find your passion for beer there, right?
if nothing else.
Yeah,
there you go.
Great.
But yeah, I mean, that's what makes it so exciting, like developing relationships, with people that have started different breweries, because, even though my story is very unique and individual to me, everybody in one shape or form, and at least in my opinion, when it's at its best, people really have had that kind of wake up moment that, I'm not going to be happy for the rest of my life unless I do this. And, for the people that go to breweries, that are in their town or they travel and they see other places, that's part of the gratification, is that it's not just liquid in a glass.
Yeah.
There's always a story behind it. There's this rich, backstory that is very, very specific to whatever place and whatever beer you're talking about. So.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was on your website talking about your craft beer as a community kind of organizing type of a thing where, you're part of a community where, again, it's not just some yellow fuzzy liquid or brown fuzzy liquid, but it's a community gathering ideal, for lack of a better term.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's intrinsically human, and it's really intrinsically American. I mean, the foundation of this country was started in taverns across pints.
Yeah.
And the basis of humankind really is, like, a lot of sociologists and anthropologists relate it back to the origins of beer. But kind of getting esoteric here at this point. But,
that's okay. We like that.
But I mean, for us and for all the people that have grown with our company and are now like such supporters of what we do, is that we all believe very strongly that this craft beer movement that we're doing, is about so much more than beer. It's about making our communities better. And that beer has got a wonderful way of bringing people together. Like on our cans, it says gravitational nectar. Besides being a kind of funny play on words about, beer, it being measured in gravity, is that, beer has this wonderful, almost miraculous, effect of bringing people together, getting conversations started, getting ideas going. And that, we feel that, we view it as a part of our mission to, make sure that we're getting those conversations started, getting those ideas, or at least making the environment where it's possible.
Now, Harris, I've heard you talking about your passion for beer here and such, but when I was over in Birmingham, I think it was Jerry at the J. Clyde told me that the real reason that you started Trim Tab was to give DJ Sex Panther a venue. Is that true?
Oh, man. Well, truth in part, not in whole. But yeah, it's I've got a lot of different passions and interests in my life, and that before I was living up in Nashville, like I've been DJing for probably about 15 years. And
we'll be back right after this with another great interview. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show at beerguysradio.com.
The Beer Guys are back right after this.
If you really like craft beer, the Stout Brothers Smyrna Beer Market invites you to their store. Stout Brothers has everything you need for a party. Not just growlers and craft beer, but everything you need for your holiday get-togethers. Local meats, cheeses, sauces, and pickles, Big Green Egg, and accessories for your holiday shopping needs. Hit Stout Brothers. Prepare for your holiday parties. Stock up today and get ready for life. As you know, if you really like craft beer, visit the Stout Brothers Smyrna Beer Market in the Smyrna Market Village. thestoutbrothers.com. Okay, look, I get it. The big election is over, and I think we're all just a little bit tired of casting our votes to determine just who wins and who loses a political race. Hey, it's Aaron from the Beer Guys Radio Show, and I want you to do one more election. Just do me a favor right now. Cast your ballot for the Beer Guys Best of Craft Beer 2016 today. You head to beerguysradio.com and cast your votes for the best beers, breweries, and brew pubs of this year. And the winners will be announced during our special year-end show. Go to beerguysradio.com and click those links to cast your votes for the best of Georgia beer and the best of Alabama beer 2016. That's beerguysradio.com and vote today. Good luck, and may the best beer win.
It's Aaron and Tim, the Beer Guys. If you're like us, no lunch or dinner is complete without a pint or two of craft beer.
Which is why Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock is always on our list. Tim, why do they call it Truck and Tap?
Well, the tap part is easy. They have 12 of them. Bottles, too. Not sure what to drink? All of their beer servers are Cicerone certified. And if you got someone who isn't a beer fan, not to worry. Truck and Tap carries wine, mixed drinks, and even handcrafted sodas.
As for the truck part, well, that's when it gets interesting. Truck and Tap features your favorite Atlanta area food trucks daily. That way, you're getting a different menu every day.
Check it out. Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock. Truckandtap.com. Let them know that the Beer Guys sent you.
Can't get enough craft beer talk? Of course you can't. That's why you need to head to iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, or wherever you get your podcasts and sign up right now for Project BGR. Project BGR is where Tim and myself get to talk to some of the big names in brewing from across the country and the world. We get the scoop on what's going on with breweries like Cigar City, Boston Beer Company, Jester King, Burial, Ballast Point, and more. Project BGR, new shows every other week. Subscribe today on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcast. Project BGR, it's a craft beer podcast.
Morgan and Lisa with Your Pie Perimeter here. We'd like to invite you to our store for a beer.
Is there anything better than pizza?
Yep. Brick oven pizza that's made fresh and paired with a cold craft beer.
That's what you get at Your Pie Perimeter, located in the Perimeter Place Shopping Center by Perimeter Mall.
It's the perfect place to relax on the patio with a pint after work or bring the family in.
Follow Your Pie Perimeter on Facebook for all our beer events and specials, including beer tastings that you won't find anywhere else.
That's Your Pie Perimeter, located in Perimeter Place Shopping Center next to Chipotle. Tell them that the beer guy sent you.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
And welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show, beerguysradio.com. It is our special Christmas Day show.
That's right. We're giving thanks by airing some of our more fun interviews we've had over the years. So let's get right back to it. And we're going to listen to Nick Tanner from Cherry Street Brewing Co. Nick, you just opened a beer for us. We got into this Bourbon Oasis. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this beer?
Sure thing. This is our House Russian Imperial Stout. We use this house beer base for a lot of different beers. We take this and we age sarsaparilla whiskey soaked cocoa nibs and vanilla bean into the beer, and then this version was aged for almost a year in a Knob Creek single select barrel.
Nice.
So it's got a lot of vanilla coming out of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's got those perfect oxidation notes coming out of it. It's aged perfectly. We sent this beer to the Great American Beer Fest, as well as our Belgio Ruski and a couple of our others like Tata Cream Ale and Hoppy Balboa IPA in the honey category. And so we're really looking forward to this beer. Really proud of this beer.
Yeah,
Very
it's fantastic. Cool. Really enjoying this one. So Nick, how did you get involved with craft beer and brewing? You're not a native of this area, are you? Are you from Colorado originally?
I am a native.
Oh, okay.
I was born and raised in Alpharetta.
Okay.
I went to school right up the road at Marist. And when I graduated high school, I moved to Fort Collins, Colorado. I researched heavily. I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to go to school for natural resources. And Fort Collins, Colorado State University is number 2 in the nation for natural resource. And I was my family had a condo in Utah growing up, so I was very familiar with out west. I knew I wanted to go to school out west in Colorado State.
Yeah.
So turned 21, and I had a friend who was home brewing. He invited me over to his house, gave me one of his beers, opened it up, blueberry porter. I said, "You made this blueberry porter in a bucket?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, nice. I can do that." So we started homebrewing together, and I just fell in love and just took off with it. That hobby quickly became an obsession, and I was born in the entrepreneurial business with my dad owning a chain of restaurants here in Atlanta, and just fell in love. And a little bit after, started brewing beer, home brewing, and destroyed my first kitchen or that house. My dad was in between a few things and came out to Colorado and slept on my couch for a few weeks and said, "Let's open a brew pub." And so him and I had this goal together that we would open a brew pub together. So
now was that Tanner's has been there longer than Cherry Street, right? Was
Correct.
it okay?
Correct. Yep. So my dad opened his first location, Tanner's, off Northridge exit back in 30 years ago. December will be 30 years that Tanner's has had its name in Atlanta. So I moved back in 2009, and that's when we opened the location in Cumming. So we opened that in 2009, and we dealt with the economy. We went down, and Forsyth County up there, make sure I pronounce it right, Forsyth County up
exactly.
there, is pretty much the most affluent county in the state. It recovered very quick. As our sales started going back up, we pursued the brew pub. It took us 11 months worth of licensing and paperwork, mostly on the county side. And once we got that through, they're actually calling me now, trying to help me out, making things easier. Like we had a beer fest a couple months ago, and he came to it, our county commissioner, and looked around and was like, "How can I make this easier for you to do more of these?"
Right.
So the county's come a long way. The county's recognizing the business side of it, the tourism side of it. There's a giant economic advantage.
Sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's funny, this doesn't necessarily apply to you, but we've always said this too. A lot of breweries come in like places that are not necessarily the greatest neighborhoods, and so they kind of start there, and then more people are attracted to that area, and it just gentrifies and it kind of grows that area from something from nothing, really. A lot of old buildings and factories and those types of things that were just sitting abandoned. Brewery comes in, well, all of a sudden it becomes more popular of a space.
And that actually doesn't apply to Cherry Street, because they've got. I remember the first time I went up to your location, Nick. I live over in Woodstock, so I came back roads over there, and I'm country, farmland country, and this. And I turn around and I think it's called Vickery Creek. I think the division, the Vickery Village that you guys are in. But this is super nice, upscale development there. It's a gorgeous location. Lots going on there.
The location's excellent. We couldn't have asked for a better spot, and we're really fortunate because we're in almost a fully residential area for like a 5-mile radius around us. So we have a lot of regulars. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, that's great.
Sure, a lot of regulars.
That's a great place to be because again, you want to have that place where it's kind of regular, and you want to hang out, and you combine that with the food options, and it's a really kind of a cool place where I can come in, have a beer, maybe have some appetizers while the wife goes shopping. Or like I saw before, the first time I really saw it, my son had a swim meet up at the Y. And I was like, hey, I'm going to go right down here between sessions and have a beer and come back up. So it was cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, hey, we're here with Nick Tanner. He is with Cherry Street Brewing Cooperative up in the Alpharetta Cumming area, up 400. Tell us a little bit about the reason you're a co-op. Now, that's kind of an interesting setup, something we certainly don't have in other breweries around here.
So the term cooperative can be used kind of loosely. We are not a true cooperative as far as yearly we vote on members who do different things. But what we did was I researched all over the country how brew pubs entertain their customers and create these memberships and things. And we created a giant mug club program. And we have 3 different levels of mug club members. The levels are $100, $500, and $1,000. And the initial 15 people that paid in $1,000, they're our founding Mug Club members. And they received discounted food and drinks and parties and things for years at a time. They helped us build out the initial brewery spot. And so they're essentially, they kind of bought in to the brewery, essentially. We just revamped the program. All those top people were just recently up for renewal, and we added more things. So as they came to renew, people didn't renew. New people are signing up. We gave them a chance to be a brewer. Come in, fully design whatever beer they want to brew with us. Come in, brew it with us, and then it's their beer on tap until it runs out. And just different ways of just interacting with our customers and getting our customers involved. I use the word cooperative to really promote community, sustainability, and education. And that's what craft beer is in itself. And we're using it in our name instead of company. We're using cooperative. Very cool. So it's really more of a customer base in our mug club, as a mug club program in the brew pub.
Now, being a brew pub, Nick, your tap room, you have kind of a unique setup there compared to some others. Very cool. I mean, the way it's set up, to where the connected brew pub, restaurant, and brewery, but you do have a tap room side, basically, where people can come hang out. Could you kind of tell us about what made you decide to go that route, and how's that going?
Absolutely. So the restaurant has been around for a little over 5 years now, and we have like I said earlier, we have a really good regulars base, and our bar in Tanner's, the regulars could only drink so much before they start getting too loud. Before it starts
a family restaurant,
families. Yeah. Our restaurant is very family friendly, and that's what we do well. And in Georgia, we have to have a 50% food versus alcohol sale yearly. So all the kids eating on the restaurant side allow for all the drinks on the taproom side.
There you go.
So once the space, the unit next to the brewery that's next to Tanner's became available, we signed in and we took over. And now the tap room is our adult side. So the tap room is 21 and up. No kids inside. And it's what the area needed. It needed its bar.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. And what we do well in the tap room is we have 28 different beers on draft. So we're able to maintain on average 26 to 28 different beers at any time. And that's what it is.
Thanks again to Nick for taking time out of his schedule to talk with us. We're big fans of Cherry Street. It was great to have him in the studio. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Check us out at beerguysradio.com.
This is Spike from Terrapin Beer Company. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
The Beer Guys are back right after this.
Hey, it's Aaron, and you know what I hate? When I miss a favorite TV show and forget to DVR it. Don't let this tragic tale happen to you when it comes to Beer Guys Radio. Subscribe to us on demand. It is easy. If you've got iTunes, Stitcher, or any other iOS or Android podcast app, search for us, or go to beerguysradio.com, click listen, and you can copy and paste the RSS feed. While you're there, by the way, give us a review. It really helps. That's Beer Guys Radio on demand. Catch it today.
Morgan and Lisa with Your Pie Perimeter here. We'd like to invite you to our store for a beer.
Is there anything better than pizza?
Yep, brick oven pizza that's made fresh and paired with a cold craft beer.
That's what you get at Your Pie Perimeter, located in the Perimeter Place Shopping Center by Perimeter Mall.
It's the perfect place to relax on the patio with a pint after work or bring the family in.
Follow Your Pie Perimeter on Facebook for all our beer events and specials, including beer tastings that you won't find anywhere else.
That's Your Pie Perimeter, located in Perimeter Place Shopping Center next to Chipotle. Tell them that the Beer Guys sent you.
Okay, look, I get it. The big election is over, and I think we're all just a little bit tired of casting our votes to determine just who wins and who loses a political race. Hey, it's Aaron from the Beer Guys Radio Show, and I want you to do one more election. Just do me a favor right now. Cast your ballot for the Beer Guys Best of Craft Beer 2016 today. You head to beerguysradio.com and cast your votes for the best beers, breweries, and brew pubs of this year. And the winners will be announced during our special year-end show. Go to beerguysradio.com and click those links to cast your votes for the Best of Georgia Beer and the Best of Alabama Beer 2016. That's beerguysradio.com and vote today. Good luck, and may the best beer win.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to this special edition of the Beer Guys Radio Show. Coming up next, we are talking to Good People, the oldest and largest craft brewery in Alabama.
That's right. Co-owner Jason Malone joined us earlier this year, so let's get right into it. We're in the studio. Jason is over. Jason, you're actually on the soccer fields, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're talking to Jason Malone with Good People Brewing out of Birmingham, Alabama. Jason, we appreciate you multitasking to talk with us this week.
Absolutely. I'm used to doing that, so it's all good.
Definitely, you run a brewery, so that's how it happens. But, hey, just tell us a little bit about your backstory. How'd you get involved with craft beer and brewing?
Really, it was hobby turned business, quite frankly. You know, me and my buddy Michael started brewing a long time ago, and started taking beers to parties and tailgates and different events, and did it year after year after year. And all of a sudden, maybe somebody said the right thing at the right time. You know, something that everybody hears. You know, if you're kind of into a hobby hardcore, they say, "Hey, have you ever thought about doing this full time?" And we had heard it, and for whatever reason, maybe once or twice it stuck, and we finally looked at each other and said, "You know what? Maybe we got something here. Let's do it." So, kind of started the long road of investigating what it would take to start a brewery, and here we are.
Now, you sold your first keg in 2008, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. July 4th, 2008.
So you're kind of one of the old school of Alabama brewing then, right?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. We are the oldest. When we started, there was another brewery who's no longer with us. Quite a few have opened since, but yeah, I guess it's just a sign of this industry that you can only be 8 years old and be the oldest one in your state.
That's up. We thought it was tight over here in Georgia. We've got one brewery that's been here, Red Brick, since '93. But now, talking about being around since 2008 and being the old guard, you guys have seen a ton of changes in that 8 years, though, correct?
Oh, dude, we've seen so much change. It's crazy. Our business plan is dramatically different as far as what we can and what we do now.
in 2016 versus 2008. Just get into a few of the details. When we first started, it was illegal to make anything over 6% ABV. So that seems like many moons ago. Now we can make anything up to 13.9. So basically anything's in play. Some other examples are tap rooms. We could not have any sort of tap room as far as selling direct is concerned, both for on-premise or off-premise. And as we're sitting here today, we can do both. So, we've got a tap room that we're really proud of, that people come in and see us and learn about what we do, get a taste of the vibe, get a taste of the beer, and can kind of hang out and drink pints, take a tour, and then if they're so inclined, take a crowler or a six-pack to go. So, it seems like we're very liberated in a lot of ways in Alabama.
So you decided to start it during hostile times over there, so to speak, right?
I guess it was hostile, but we didn't know any better, There wasn't really much of a landscape as far as brewing was concerned, indicated by the fact that there was only one other one in operation.
Right.
And, it was clear that there was at least some percentage of the population that was really was really wanting, a more of a brewing craft beer scene in Alabama. So some of the laws definitely weren't friendly, but, the landscape other than that, as far as consumer willingness to try and educational groups going on, educating people like Free the Hops, in a lot of ways it was a really friendly environment.
So what do you think over that time? Is there one thing that sticks out as maybe something you've learned or a lesson through all of these changes?
Oh, wow.
The tough questions, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, dude. The power of the people, not to be cliche, but, we've accomplished so much in this state through what really started way back in 2009, 2010 when Free the Hops first got the ABV law changed. That was a total grassroots effort that really got a law that people said would never get changed. And out of that, I think really valuable lessons were learned in regards to the legislative process, how to go about change, what type of expectation to have when you're seeking change, how to organize the efforts, and lessons learned way back in 2009, 2010 on that first successful legislative win have really paid dividends in some of the other ways that I expressed earlier. In 2008, we could even have big bottles back then. It was a pint or less was the package size that you could go. And now in 2016, think about then, to think that we would be able to sell in our tap room a 750 bottle of 10% ABV beer. I mean, it was just not even on the radar screen.
Yeah, and a lot of folks in Georgia are very jealous of you for being able to do that too.
Yeah, I've heard some of the stories, man. It sounds like there's certainly some tomfoolery going on.
We've got room to grow. Let's put it like that.
That's a good way to do it.
But it is encouraging over there to see the changes you guys have had in a short time. And I've been over there, a handful of times to enjoy the beer, to check it out. And that, a story. I know one of your most popular beers is a Snake Handler. And, even over here in Georgia, anytime you go through Alabama, that's the recommendation. Find you some Snake Handler. It took me, I think, 2 years of traveling back and forth to Mississippi before I happened to land when Snake Handler was available there. I'd go over to Hop City, Birmingham on my way through, and it just always timed it out when it was sold out. So, but I finally got my hands on some of it, so it's a great beer.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. We're proud of it. It definitely seems to kind of have a cult following.
And we'll take some of the El Gordo, too, whenever you get a chance to bottle that and send it over here, too. We'll be set.
Well, keep your ears tuned in to social media and whatnot, because we'll be having some El Gordo news here pretty soon regarding some really cool bottles.
Nice. Looking forward to that. And, of course, we're talking with Jason Malone from Good People Brewing in Birmingham. Say that 3 times fast. Now, of course, you've also, we was talking about not expanding into Georgia, you guys, but you just recently completed some distribution into Tennessee. Are you going to expand further across the Southeast?
Yeah, we certainly have plans too. The landscape in this space, in this industry, is always changing. So, we try to stay nimble as far as our business plan is concerned and our strategic distribution plan. What makes sense one day might not make sense a week later, it seems. But as things look now, we're definitely going to be expanding into the Georgia area. If I had to guess, I'd say 2017.
Okay, that's great news. Excellent. So you don't have to go to Alabama for your snake handler, hopefully,
that's
by
right.
next year.
Find it here.
That sounds like a plan. Sure. Excellent. And, of course, you also recently bought a new can labeler, too. Has that helped your process and your efficiency?
Man, that's been huge. We thought that it would be, but to kind of actually see it running and to see the new cans out on the shelf and see how small of a batch we can really run efficiently, it's really been a game changer. We've had seasonals that we've loved doing and that the folks here seem to like drinking a lot. And, you can only do so much when it's draft only. So cans are really great in a lot of ways, but the limiting factor on cans has always been the amounts that you have to buy since they come pre-labeled. And, if anybody's been to CBC recently, they can tell that if brewers have a problem, there's one or two or three equipment manufacturers who have figured out a way to fix that issue. And these can labelers are really great, man. So now we can run, small batches of beer, just do a 160-barrel tank, for example, and all of a sudden we got 550, 600 cases of beer that we've never had before as far as our seasonals are concerned. So we're really happy with how that program's going.
That was something when I saw the labels and like the shrink labels and just the stick-on labels, I knew that could be a game changer for breweries because I know there's at least one brewery here that was dropped by their can manufacturer because they just weren't big enough to do those kinds of orders. And it's something that just, we have breweries here that are changing over to all cans because of this, the availability now. And it's really nice to see, kind of like you said, that there's companies that are filling that void out there and making this more tangible for smaller breweries.
There really are, man. When we first started, it seems like there were two canners available. There was the one we got for the small guys, and then there was the one that Budweiser used, and nothing in between. And now, just the number of suppliers that are really helping this industry grow is pretty phenomenal.
Thanks for tuning in, y'all. That wraps up our special Christmas episode. But before we sign off, we want to thank all of you for listening to us over this past year.
The support really has been amazing, and we are truly blessed. Thank you all for listening, and thanks to all of our guests over the past year. Coming up next week, by the way, we're going to recap the year in beer and hand out some awards voted on by you, the listeners. Head to beerguysradio.com and cast your vote today. Have a Merry Christmas, and don't forget to drink local. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We're on demand via iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Always online at beerguysradio.com. Aaron and Tim are back next week with more about the amazing world of craft beer. Cheers. The Beer Guys Radio Show on the Beer Guys Radio Network. BeerGuysRadio.com.